1, 2, 3.
I'm here with my good friend, Lucas Van Engen. I have no idea what kind of name.
Dutch.
He's a Dutchman.
Dutch.
Lucas has been in a bunch of TV shows. Most recently, you can watch him as, is it Sheik?
Chic.
Sheik Sheehan on City on a Hill. You did 4 episodes this season. Tell me about that. I don't watch the show. I don't have that channel.
Yeah, it's on Showtime. So
I do have that channel.
There you go. You just haven't seen it.
I just haven't watched it yet.
Yep. Kevin Bacon, the man, is the lead. And I shot, I get mixed up on the time frame. I think I shot the pilot in 2017. And then it took him a year to sell the pilot, do the whole thing, write the next script. And I started working a year later in February, I think, of 18. And then through the spring. And then it came out in 2019. Yeah.
And so that tells you like how much like lead time. Now, is the pilot that you shot, is that the pilot for the TV show?
Yeah.
How do you like stay the same looking? I'm like during COVID especially, I've gained like 35 pounds.
Oh yeah,
and like
me
I'm
too.
always changing. So
Yeah.
like,
Well, actually, so the producer called me, or one of the line producers called me before the show and had me take selfies of my head to make sure it matched what I did before.
They were
like actually worried about that. Yeah,
they were
so
way ahead of it.
that was part of it. It's amazing how every detail is taken, including in COVID. You walk into a fortress.
Yeah.
Because I shot something recently, and it was a fortress.
Right. Zones. You had to be in the zones and the
Well,
A's and C's and.
I got tested before I showed up for the fitting. Then when I left, then I got tested on entering the set and leaving the set every time.
Right.
And then everywhere you go, they've already got hand sanitizer set up. They have people who are responsible for collecting the masks of the leads right before they shoot. Everybody else is masked up the whole time. It's really like, I just can't believe how much thought goes into every production.
So you know what I'm going to ask you now, right?
Go for it.
What do you think about the Tom Cruise rant?
I liked it.
I liked it too. I was like,
I was impressed.
He made really good points about like.
What I'm impressed with the Tom Cruise rant is that he is looking big picture, and that it wasn't about. There's some ego in there because he got so worked up, but it wasn't about him. It was about us, and he made it big picture so everybody could be part of a team, which is what leaders do. So I was really impressed.
He started talking about people losing their houses.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's a guy that he's not going to lose his house. He's not losing anything. He'd still be a gazillionaire or whatever he is. Yeah, I liked it too. I thought he made a good point. And some people called him a bully, but I'm like, hey, you're in charge you have this huge responsibility. Yeah. And he does. I mean, he said he was on the phone with like the studios, and a regular like producer on a show, you'd be like, yeah, you were on the phone with the studios. But like,
no, he really was.
The Cruise was. Sure. Definitely on, like, how do we save our industry?
Yeah,
so I'm grateful that he did that.
And saving the industry to saving other jobs in America.
Right.
It
made sense. Yeah. There's a good argument. It can apply to other industries, and there's a good argument to like, hey, let's,
Yeah.
Let's not mess around.
Yeah.
So you did a guest star on Chicago Fire.
That was awesome. That's one of my favorites because of my short hair, which my previous acting coach encouraged me to do. I got to play a cancer victim.
Oh, I saw the stills from that. That was amazing.
Just in time, I shaved it, played a cancer victim.
That's something that's really great about you, Lucas, is that, you've kind of developed into this like character. You're like a straight up character actor.
I'm definitely a character actor. When I was 22, I was like, I'm not a character actor.
Right.
Make me look good. I'm a character actor. I have to be. Yeah.
You definitely are.
Yeah.
I remember when I first met you. Lucas and I have the same manager, and we met each other because we were both cast in the same episode
That's right.
of a TV show.
The Breaks.
The Breaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we went to the premiere together.
Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah.
So that was a good night. You know.
That was fun.
Yeah. It was. So I looked at him like, oh yeah, this guy's like you know, he's like the best friend, or he's like, you know, those leading type characters. Like, you know, no one's going to be at this stage in their career. You're not going to get offered, you know, the lead in Mission Impossible, but
right.
You're kind of hoping to get those roles where you're like the buddy.
Sure.
Because then you could, like Bradley Cooper did that. Like he was always like the buddy or the obnoxious friend, and then he's a major leading man. But you took a different direction. You're like really like sinking your teeth into the character roles.
The thing I resisted the most was my anger, and my last acting coach pushed me into my anger, and then I just started booking. And so that's a lot of that's where I've gone, and now it's starting to, thank God, change a little bit here and there, and I'm finding other colors. But yeah, what about you? What do you classify yourself as when it comes to acting?
You know, I think, well, they cast me as the desk sergeant a lot. They cast me at people sitting at desks.
Yeah.
So I've had some roles like that. So I'm trying to break out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot to say about like what I've thought about during COVID in terms of like my acting and stuff I've dealt with my therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Not to go.
It's
into,
all the
yeah,
same. It's
right?
all the same to me. Yeah.
And I think that's something I want to talk about in terms of like how I'm auditioning differently now.
Okay.
Especially with the doing the self tapes. Yeah, it's and I'm with what I've discovered now. I want to walk into a room.
Yeah.
I mean, I really want to walk into a room
hear that.
because that's a different kind of an feeling, and I definitely want to talk about that. But I wanted to also say that I saw your scenes on Happy.
Oh, thanks.
And that's why I was like, oh man, that's such a great part.
That was an angry role.
Yeah, it was so good. You look so scummy.
They made me look like, okay, wait, what was the word you used? When you shot some headshots for me, we were
oh, that's right.
We were typecasting me into this role.
That was the role, yeah.
That was the role. What did you call me?
I don't know, like a squirrel eater.
Squirrel eating
got you like a squirrel eating, gasoline drinking
motherfucker.
Yeah. Is that the shot they submitted?
No, but I do still have that shot.
That's a fun
on my
shot.
profile to play like a redneck sleazy guy. You know, this guy was a coked out like, what's that? Not sorority, but
fraternity bro.
This is like a scuzzed out fraternity bro.
It was interesting.
It was
like, wow, because I was like, I didn't know. You know, I knew you from. I kind of saw you playing more like maybe those more comedic roles that you were.
Yeah, that's where I was like going because I started in improv, and before I got to New York, I did a lot of improv. So you feel the timing, you hear the timing, and so I had that. So I thought, well, I'll go the comedy way, and the stuff I booked has not been comedy. So I just think like if you find something that's working for you, keep hitting that note until you make your million, and then. People will start asking you to do different stuff. You can start making your own stuff. But as far as making a career in acting, if you find the note that works for you, play it.
Yeah. I think a lot of like the casting directors online that do like advice and stuff are all
in the same. Yeah.
I do have some disagreements with those, with some of that. And that comes back to the things I was talking about, like with my own self-discovery, like how I want to audition now.
Yeah.
And the purpose that I have, because I feel like, so auditioning is a very like cold process, at least in New York. And I'm sure it's like that in LA. It's a very cold and clinical process. And that sort of puts this thought in, I think, a lot of actors' mind that there's a right way to do this. That you have to go in and, they talk about, are you castable? And, co-star is this and a guest star is this and all this stuff. And so you walk into this environment where everything's so, sterile and it's not a very friendly environment. There are some casting
that way, yeah.
There are some casting directors that like that you get to know and and then you can have like friendly interactions, but there are some offices where it's a different associate every time you go in and they don't know you and they don't and so I feel like there's a lot of pressure to do it right. Mm-hmm. And 90% of the time it's about how you look and how you sound. But I feel like you're auditioning for that 10%. You should be auditioning for the chances where your skill as an actor and what you bring to the story are going to get you the role.
Where the two align.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
At least that's how I want. I mean, I feel like I was, the stuff I book has always been stuff that I wasn't like stressed over. I wasn't overthinking.
Well, but we're saying the same thing. You're not disagreeing with me because what you're saying is like, don't turn yourself into a pretzel for this role because that's not what you're going to book anyway.
Right.
Just go in. I mean, be you is a little, whatever, you get it. Do your thing.
True to yourself.
Be true to yourself in that role. And that's all of acting anyway. But
the Hamlet is the best advice. And it's so cliche to say, be true to yourself. But I feel like we don't do that. Like a lot of times we're not true to ourselves. We don't make the choices that we think are the right choices. We don't, we don't think maybe we're good enough for the part. And so we try to fit into that narrow thing. And what we've got is maybe more beautiful and maybe more appropriate.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
And the only reason I hesitate on be true to yourself is because the concept is vaguer than it sounds, meaning I spent a long time going, I want to be true to myself. What does that mean for me? Like, tell me who I am. How do you see me? So finding my own truth, I still sometimes can't tell you like what that is exactly. It's something that I feel inside, and I know when I'm sitting in it. Yeah. And sometimes still I do an audition and I finish and my nervous system calms down and I only have an hour left. I have to submit it. And I'm like, I was doing something I felt like I had to do. I wasn't just being me in that role, and that would have been enough.
I guess for me, what I think that I was wanting to express was that I oftentimes will not trust my own artistic instinct.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. So it's not I don't mean it in terms of the actual acting and the actual work. I just mean I want to do the work that I want to do with that material, with the copy, with the sides. And instead of like, well, if I really like this, but they're not going to like it. And I just, I don't know what they're going to like. I don't know what they're into. And I want to feel good about the work that I do as an artist because frankly, most of the work you're going to do as an actor is auditioning. That's your chance to do the work. And so I guess I've just had a paradigm shift where I'm trying to do the work that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep mentioning the last 5 years of this class I was in. That was the whole trajectory of the class. Is how do you show up with your creative integrity and like just shine, no matter what the project is, and just bring your best that you believe in, and you can walk out, And then once I'm able to do that, then there are other layers. Then there's the tone of the show. Is it half hour, et cetera, that you got to start. And then how I may feel this is true, but it's not reading on camera,
Right. So there's like the aesthetic distance is important to consider. All those things are.
Yeah.
But I think that you're right. I think you first have to say, you have to make that deal with yourself that you're going to do what you're going to trust yourself to make the right choices and then make those choices. Right.
Where we're aligning is that phrase, trust yourself.
Yeah.
I heard a guy say in a voiceover audition, there was this engineer for a sound engineer for where I auditioned all the time for my agency. And he told me the difference between celebrity voiceovers and regular voiceovers, people who are not celebrities, is not the celebrity voice. It's that celebrities walk in with their shoulders back and nothing to prove.
Yeah. They're just being.
Yeah.
And if they feel a certain way, that's what they do. And I guess that's a really good way, to say it. Like they walk in with their shoulders back. They're not faking it.
Right.
It's real confidence. Yeah. It's not, fake it till you make it. I think you should try to fake it till you make it a little bit, but I guess that's what I've gained, in the past 6 months is a lot more confidence in my choices. And then I feel like the material, what I see when I send it in is just better now.
That's great.
It just looks better because it's not tight.
That's great.
Do you think there's a difference? A lot of people will comment on this. And do you think there's a difference between auditioning for a guest star role and a co-star role in terms of how you prepare or what you're...
Yeah. So, good question. So co-star roles, I spent the way our manager worked with me is let's go get those co-star roles because let's rack them up because that's what I can get for you right now. I said, okay. And I started getting co-star audition, one-liner, two-liner, a whole page, you know. Some of the bigger stuff I booked was actually considered a co-star, and yet it was 3-4 pages long, you know, with the whole scene and another scene, you know. But anyway, the point is, I worked with my buddy Matt W. Cody, who's a great actor, excellent actor, and really can be an incredibly technical actor also when he wants to. And so we worked together on all of these co-stars every time, and he was getting co-star auditions too. And we kind of found together that it was just so much technical. Sometimes the lines in a co-star are more difficult to memorize than the lines in a guest star for me, because it's jargon for 3 or 4 lines out of context. And the nerves go up, and I get in there and I mess up one word and the whole thing goes out. Versus guest star, you're a person in a scene with context, and if you mess up a word, or you just keep going with it. Yeah,
I like the co-stars are so broad sometimes that you don't really have a place to start because you don't have a lot of information.
Yeah, you won't get a ton of information. Although there is one thing that Matt and I would do is, and he taught me this: read every word on the page, including the page number, because there's going to be clues throughout of what's going on, what the tone is, what the context is, and what needs to be done, and why this scene exists at all.
Where it might be in the story. Where it might be in the first act, and that still has a different tone. Yeah.
So we would pound down the lines we would memorize both lines, all the lines on the page. So I would know my lines and the other character's lines, and I'd be able to do them cold with him. And then we would start nailing down the actions of the scene. Because co-star, you walk in, especially me for the scenes I'm booking, I would walk in and it would be, on your knees, you over there, not gonna go. Get the helicopter.
Yeah.
You know? And you walk into a casting room and it's like, now I've got all this stuff to do, and I've got 2 people that I see once every 2 months looking at me, and a camera, and the camera, instead of right here, it's over here. And I'm like, everything I worked on. They want you to sit. So everything I worked on is out of my head. But what we found is just like drill it beyond what you think you need to know. So that you can go in there and the camera's over there, oops, and you just kind of turn a little bit and they're looking at you, you don't know them, and you go, okay, well, that's who they are. And then your body knows all of the motions of that scene and when they come out.
You can pivot easily because you're so familiar with the material, even if it's
in your body. Yeah.
So some people there's lots of people I know would say that you're over preparing for those roles, but that's how you were booking them.
So that's what I learned, is that I always thought I was over preparing if I did that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not true. I always thought I would prepare myself out of something, and it's just not true. I memorize more than I think I need to, by far more than I think I need to. And that's when I'm ready to go in, because once the nerves get going, the lines are going to go too.
Yeah.
And then once the lines go, then I stop trusting myself, which comes back to that. So, and guest star, to go the other direction a little bit, it's still like, know those lines backwards and forwards. That's the first step. Like, just know the freaking lines. I do so many self-tapes with people, and about a fourth of them come in with their lines.
Yeah, that's my experience too. A lot of the self-tapes I do, they're kind of, they know them, they don't really know them, and then...
Yeah, and so what you're competing with there, then when you're trying to... I know casting directors probably feel this way too. I certainly feel this way. Because in a way, these actors are also representing me as a self-tape coach. So I want them to do well, but I'm competing with them not knowing the lines. So I'm like, okay, well, once we finally get a clean takedown, we're 50 minutes in. And to stay true to myself, we got to be done in 10 minutes. So we're not going to get 4 takes to choose from, or 16, what I did with one guy. Yeah. But so anyway, guest star, know the lines. And then a lot of the more like deeper acting skills and talent comes in, being with the person in the room, being with the casting. Who is the casting director to you if she's reading with you or he's reading with you? Who are these people? And remembering to do that in the room. And then a whole slew of things, which is guest star. Why are you in this scene? Why are you in this film? What's your purpose? What are you delivering in the script in terms of story? And then how do you tell that story with the frame? And I've gotten pretty good, thanks to a Zoom class that I'm a part of now, that's a workshop. I've gotten much better at telling the story with the frame. There's so much you can do with how I'm angled and where I'm looking and when I move that I don't need to feel a thing for.
Yeah. Do you, so let's say you were in the room, right? Instead of doing one of these, right?
Right.
And you're in the room. Would you ask the casting director, like, where am I at? Or would you just sort of feel it out?
You mean where am I at in the script?
In the frame.
In the frame, yes, I will. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll say,
definitely.
Where's my frame, so that you can play to that.
Yeah.
You can play to your strength, right?
Right.
That's something I've never done. I maybe have done it once and like, hey, how much room do I have to move side to side? But that's a really good tip.
There's another thing that it does for you, and the casting directors probably see right through it, but I don't care. If I take the time to say, where's my frame? I suddenly get grounded in my seat. I take a little bit of control of the room. I feel like I'm owning this. It does a lot for your confidence, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be aloof and be like, I think you could do it like you said, like it's a reasonable question in an audition. It is your audition.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be like, I don't think you have to do it. Like what I'm taking is you're not like, you're taking control of the room where you can take control. Yeah, because that's
100%.
You're grabbing the room, you're playing the room where you can. You're not trying to disrupt the process, or you're not trying to go method or try to be that super serious.
And I've done all the wrong things. I've gone method.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I did it too, man. I did it too. I've gone in aloof and been like, I don't care if I book this role. I've done that. I've done, I remember when Bowling Misha was down at Greenwich Street.
Uh-huh.
It was down on Greenwich.
Yeah.
And I would go in there and I would wear, it'd be a cop role, and I'd wear like shorts, shorts, tank top.
You'd book me if you knew what was good for you.
And because I booked that way. That's how I was booking. I'm like, I just don't give a shit. That's that's what they want. But I was still thinking with that mindset of that's what they want.
Right.
And I think that that's a trap. And I think, like I said in the beginning, I think that auditioning sets up that sort of business, environment where you're trying to please the person, you're trying to win the job. And I think, and I don't know if this is true, but I think just staying true to your artistry and approaching it like you're the star of the show. I know that you're not the star of the show in terms of the script,
confidence.
but this is the prepare that way.
Yeah.
Be as prepared as Tom Cruise is on that movie.
And do you have anything else to add, or any different takes on co-star versus guest star versus recurring, etc.?
I just think that what you said is absolutely right. I think that this idea that a co-star is a throwaway, which is what you hear a lot. Like if you're online, I think maybe some of you have heard this, and they don't say it this way, but it's essentially what they're saying, is that you're not there to add color. You're not there to add flourish. You're there to move story. And that's true. But it can also be a good story. Yeah. Hopefully you want to be a part, like comedies. If you look at like some of The Office, right? Every second of that is comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is a joke. Every word they say is a joke. So I think that it's important to approach a co-star not like it's a throwaway. That doesn't mean overact it, or you still have to do good acting stuff. You have to do subtle,
you gotta be believable.
Believable acting. But I think that I don't think that it should be approached in your mind, or
it's so technical. And I guess most of what I was talking about was drama, because if I think about some of the faster paced comedies, and I think about co-stars on that, you want to get a laugh with. You're going to want to get a laugh.
Yeah, you want
those two lines. That's who they're going to book.
I mean, the person who sells that line.
Yeah.
Because they wrote it there. They love all those lines. Let me ask you this about wardrobe.
All right.
What are your thoughts on wardrobe?
I don't have strong thoughts on wardrobe. I asked my wife if this shirt worked to be in an interview. So I'm not great with wardrobe, I'm not going to lie. But I will say a couple basic rules is keep it simple, dress to suggest.
Yeah, indicate. I would say that.
Yeah. Suggest that. I mean, you could book a cop with what you're wearing.
Yeah,
right?
detective. This would suggest that.
Definitely.
It would indicate that,
Don't go in a fireman's uniform.
No, don't do that.
A nurse's outfit.
If you don't audition a lot, or you're just starting out with going out, or you're trying to get an agent right now, when you do go in, you will see people that will come up that are like have full on police uniforms.
Yeah. On the other hand, I've been to rooms much like you have where everybody's in. I have actually two sides of this story. I've been in rooms where everybody is in, dress pants and a button-down shirt, and I'm in there in a t-shirt and jeans, and I'm like, well, they just don't get it, Yeah. And actually, no, there's a reason everybody was in that. I didn't read the script close enough.
Yeah.
And there is a way to put yourself in, and it's okay if you look like everybody else. There was another time when I booked the fireman. It said, do not make yourself look good. It said that in the breakdown. This person has cancer. They're dying. Don't look good. I talked to my acting coach. He said, buy a shirt that's way too large for you. And the shirt I bought.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, right?
Right.
That's brilliant.
That's
brilliant.
Such a small thing and a brilliant tip.
I almost think it booked me the role other than my incredible performance. But no, but the shirt, I got a shirt that was too big. Very funny, too long story about arguing with the clerk about which shirt I should get. And then I came in there looking like shit, no makeup. Not only that, I like rubbed my eyes a lot so they were red. I looked like shit. Didn't do anything with my hair. I mean, I don't need to. And then everybody else in that room that was going in before me looked like an LA actor, like fucking ready for the billboard,
right,
done
up, closely shaved.
And that time I had the confidence. I thought, these bros.
Sometimes that happens. There's magic. Sometimes you go on an audition and you feel good going in. You go in, you feel good about the room. Yeah. You walk out, you feel good, and you did book it.
Yeah, right.
Like that happens sometimes.
Right.
That's
sometimes
magical.
It does. Yeah.
That's a great.
So what about you? Clothes. You're better at this than I am. You're very visual, and
I think that you should, if you're going in for a lawyer, I don't think you have to wear a tie, but you should wear a jacket. It's a lawyer role. Or if you're going in for an FBI agent, I think you need to, indicate it. But you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to really own you're going in for a big time lawyer. You don't have to have a $5,000 suit on. You can just throw a sport jacket on, and it indicates the role. Stuff like that. And like I go in for a lot of cops, and I'll just wear like a blue button down.
Right.
Because it indicates the role.
Right.
If you have one piece of advice to give somebody who's just starting out, what would it be?
I think it's the whole. I don't have one simple instruction.
Yeah.
Because I think you got to hit both sides of it equally, and the both sides of it is get into an acting class, learn your craft, learn your skill, learn what works for you, learn what you're good at. Be sure you're in an acting class where you trust the coach and other people in that class are booking or getting out or better than you. And then once you have that down, and that's a normal part of your life, working on your craft. I hate that word, but
yeah, I get you. It's
working on your
word.
talent. I don't know.
Working on your artistry.
Yeah, that works.
I like that.
Craft just got overused for a while, so
it's used for things that aren't crafts, and it's probably just thrown out there.
And then the other part is that I did that. The last class I was in kind of poo-pooed, even though everybody who's successful was doing it. Is I got a business coach. And I worked with a business coach for 2 years. Emily Grace, look her up. She's still doing stuff like this. And that's when I started. Now I had the skill going for years. I'd been doing the skill sets and the craft for 7-8 years at this point, or 10 years. I started working with Emily Grace, and I started taking risks in how I put myself out there in the business. My favorite story is my around that is, and I don't recommend calling agencies in general, but I had sent out a bunch of agency stuff. I had done the next steps. I was looking for a commercial agent, and I'd done step after step after step. And Emily Grace said, okay, now you got to call that agency because you've done this and that and the other thing. I was like, my heart's pounding. I called the agency. I said, hey, I'm just following up about, and they said, oh, Lucas, yeah, we sent you an email a month ago. You never responded. And they had sent it to a different email address. And sure enough, there it was. I went in and did I mention their name? Because I don't want to.
You didn't say their name.
Okay.
No.
And I ended up, I'm represented by them still. And they're fantastic. So.
Are they on your IMDb?
Oh, probably.
Yeah. So,
Actually, the main thing I wanted to talk about in this interview was the history of my classes and what it brings to my coaching.
Yeah.
Can I just go on that rant real quick?
I should just say that that Lucas and I both have separate self-tape businesses. I have a headshot business and I do self-tapes. And Lucas has a self-tape business and coaching, and he's excellent. I always wonder about your people because their tapes look so great.
I just do it on my iPhone.
But the actors,
the actors. That's my specialty that I bring.
Yeah, and I'm like, they're always really good. And
thanks.
I don't know if it's because they're already good actors or if that's because of the coaching. So let me go ahead and expand on that.
I think it's both. I happen to know a lot of really great actors, and I make it a point. I don't like if they leave with something that I wouldn't book them for.
Right.
So it's both. So I came to New York in 2002, immediately got into classes. I had no pride about it. The first guy I was with was a Meisner guy, and he didn't teach me Meisner. It was all about his ego. And it took me about a year of classes with him to realize it was about his ego. And I had a big resentment about that for a long time. Next guy I got to, and I'll just mention a couple names. I'm not going to mention all the coaches' names today, but Harry O'Reilly, great frickin' coach, man. And he's the one who really got me started in being on camera ready. And the first thing he said to everyone that came in that class, and I think it's just great instruction, it sounds so simple, is speak in your own voice. And he had an ear, if you were being inauthentic with yourself, he would say, speak in your own voice. Just speak in your own voice. And so many new actors come in with this kind of Shakespeare feel or a lot of theater training. And we're talking like this because we're in an interview and we have to talk like we're in an interview.
They're overfilling the space.
Yeah. And you watch all the great film actors and they just talk, you know. Yeah. And it sounds so simple and it's not. Take a beginner actor and ask them to read the line and they're going to do something with or without training. They're going to add something to it that's inauthentic. So that was that guy. He, and I love this about Harry, there was a certain emotional glitch that I was hitting, block. And he said, let me send you to this guy. And if you're with an acting coach that's not willing to send you to someone else, be wary. And he sent me to Anthony Bova, and I worked with Anthony Bova on the Eric Morris technique for a while. And that was deep emotional work. It was fantastic for me because now I have that. I also tortured myself for 4 years and don't recommend the emotional flogging that you could put yourself through to try to be real and try to feel things deeply. And that's when I had some of the method, like embarrassing,
masturbatorial,
yeah. Definitely moments on set or in auditions. But it was still key to who I am as an actor now. And then I went to a couple other teachers in between there. One was the method teacher in New York, and I am sure that he abused all of us for an entire month in the basement of his studio. And I was like, screw this.
Right.
And then I got to the studio that I was at for the last 5 years, and it was like, and this is just where I am with it now. With all of that in place, this is where I am. He just wanted everybody to bring the fun and the life back to it. So our only job was to memorize both sets of lines, show up to class. We didn't have to prepare anything else. And then he would direct us in class and bring out parts of ourselves to the script that we didn't even know were there. So like anger is the most easy thing to talk about. I didn't want to play angry roles. I wanted to play sweet guy. I wanted to be liked. And he saw this like repressed anger in me, and he just kept pushing me to go angry, 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 angry. And out came this wealth of emotional life that I didn't know I had.
Isn't that the best, like this, just to interrupt, isn't that like sort of the best type of coaching? And I sort of pride myself on this as well, is like, you see something in the person that they don't see. Like that, if you can uncover what makes them interesting and they're not aware of it, I think that's a great gift.
That's the whole thing. And that comes right back to like, yeah, I want to be true to myself. What does that mean? And sometimes it takes a great coach or a great outside eye to say, it's that thing.
Yeah.
It's that thing. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that thing. Well, that's your thing.
Yeah.
And often I found through sitting through this class and others that the thing that is ours, the thing that like will work the best, is often the thing that we're the most afraid of. Because I've seen it happen to one person after another, you know.
I'd like to explore that with you actually at some point.
Definitely.
Because I view myself as a different kind of actor. I view myself as an escapist. So I don't, what I strive to do when I'm acting, when I feel I'm creative and I'm doing good work, I'm actually living truthfully in somebody else's shoes.
Cool.
I'm not, they would call it maybe external approach.
Sure.
That I'm more free when I escape into somebody else's persona and then I live the truth, their truth. It's a lot of imagination work.
I love it.
Yeah, so I approach it a little bit differently. And so I guess I've been hesitant with a lot of like deep emotional work on myself because I don't feel like that helps me for the character other than exploring the emotions. I think for me, the imagination living as somebody else is, to me, that's more true. For me, that's more truthful because I'm actually experiencing it.
Okay.
I'm that person and I'm experiencing it.
Yeah. Well, where I can jive with you totally is what I worked on for the last 5 years. I came in with all this like self-flogging, thinking I had to feel things. And the coach would literally go, 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 go,
Yeah.
just go, go, you know? And it's at one time I got up there and had all this emotional life going on because of what my day was like. And I sat there with the person and I had all my emotional life going on. And it was one of the few times that the coach got angry at me because I was giving my scene partner nothing.
Yeah.
And so where I really agree with you is if we can leave ourselves alone and get connected to something outside of ourselves, a whole lot of stuff will come up.
I think if we can get out of it's like getting out of your head, getting out of your own way. The improv, I mean, I think improv when it's done, you know, I'm not into comedy improv. I'm not into long form improv. I'm not into that, but I really liked improv training for what it does for me as an actor of don't think.
Yeah.
You know, there's no thinking.
Yeah.
You know, if you're prepared, you don't have to think.
Yeah.
And like, so some of that is from the theater training.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, you know, overall, and I think this goes back to what you said about the co-stars and the guest stars is preparation is your friend. It's what gives you the ability to pivot, to turn, to do exciting things.
Well, and it's important what the preparation is. So if it's preparation of like, every time I read this, I read it the same way. Now I'm locked into a line reading.
Right.
So preparation.
It's not just
all
rote.
the way.
But it's not rote. It's like, what do they call it? It's like with golf or with tennis, and they call it like focused practice, or like, you know, you shouldn't just practice hitting golf balls. You should practice like every shot getting better.
That's cool.
And I think that's focused practice, or somebody can leave it in the comments what I'm talking about. But
yeah. And then where I'm at now with it is I just joined a workshop that my wife is in, and it's phenomenal. And really where I'm learning to start in that class is and this is what it all should be, I think. What story am I telling? What world am I living in this script?
Right.
And then how am I telling that story within this frame?
Yeah.
And I'm quoting everything I'm telling you. I'm quoting other people who have like nothing is.
Yeah, we're not
unique.
inventing.
I'm not inventing anything.
No. And even when I talked about like that, I approach it differently. I didn't invent that either. There's lots of actors that build up a different person and live inside that person.
So I start there, and the beauty of I start there. So the beauty of working that way is, if I don't need to feel anything, because I just have to say the line this way and then look over there, and that tells the story that's being told. Or if I just need to lean forward a little bit in my seat at this moment, and that tells the story that's being told, that takes all the pressure off of me. Now I can walk into a room and I know that all I have to do is say the line and then lean forward right here and thank the casting director and walk. Actually, the main thing I wanted to talk about in this interview was the history of my classes and what it brings to my coaching.
Yeah.
Can I just go on that rant real quick?
I should just say that that Lucas and I both have separate self-tape businesses. I have a headshot business and I do self-tapes, and Lucas has a self-tape business and coaching, and he's excellent. I always wonder about your people because their tapes look so great.
I just do it on my iPhone.
But the actors, the
actors
are
that's my
good.
specialty that I bring.
Yeah, and I'm like, they're always really good.
Well,
and
thanks.
I don't know if it's because they're already good actors or if that's because of the coaching. So let me go ahead and expand on that.
I think it's both. I happen to know a lot of really great actors, and I make it a point. I don't like if they leave with something that I wouldn't book them for.
Right.
So it's both. So I came to New York in 2002, immediately got into classes. I had no pride about it. The first guy I was with was a Meisner guy, and he didn't teach me Meisner. It was all about his ego. And it took me about a year of classes with him to realize it was about his ego. And I had a big resentment about that for a long time. Next guy I got to, and I'll just mention a couple names. I'm not going to mention all the coaches' names today, but Harry O'Reilly, great freaking coach, man. And he's the one who really got me started in being on camera ready. And the first thing he said to everyone that came in that class, and I think it's just great instruction, it sounds so simple, is speak in your own voice. And he had an ear if you were being, but I agree. And I went through that phase myself where I didn't care about
I think we've all,
audience.
It's one of those things that comes up like, you know.
And now I have a visceral reaction of anger. If you're asking me to come to a show where I'm going to watch you live through the darkest moment of your life, and it has nothing to do with me we're here for your entertainment. That's what we're doing. So if it's not on some level,
that's the tradition of acting.
That's it.
That's 3,000 years. That's the tradition.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So if on some level it's not engaging to you, the viewer, I haven't done my job.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think that you can serve the audience a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of different approaches you can do to the work, but you can't ever forget about the viewer.
Why you're doing it.
That's the art. Yeah. So tell everybody the name of your company and
it's
Instagram
called Self Tapes NYC, Self Tape Auditions NYC on Instagram. You can easily hit me up there or at my Instagram, which is Lucas JVE, I believe. Yeah.
And where are you located?
I'm located out of my apartment in Astoria. We've got a room set up just for self tapes. So.
What's the subway stop for that?
The N off of 30th Avenue.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that people know about your work. I think you do excellent work.
Thanks, man.
I love watching your stuff, and I love your approach, like your thoughtfulness about acting. And I know that you want to give people, you want them to succeed.
Yeah.
You want them to have a good
Totally.
a good experience. I really appreciate that.
So tell me about your business, where you're located, how people can find you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's Adam Smith Headshots. We do we do headshots, and you need new headshots, by the way. It's time.
Yeah, probably.
It's time. I need to update your look anyway, but I did all his headshots. So
they're phenomenal.
Primary business we do is headshots. We also will do the self tape when we the slate shot when we do the headshot. It's a product we call Headshot 2.0. Your headshot comes to life, and so that's a really cool.
It's
product.
really cool.
Yeah,
it's so smart what you've done.
And we also do self tapes and musical demos and what's that?
Location.
Location.
Where can they find you?
We're at 456 West 44th Street. That's between 9th and 10th Avenue, right in Midtown. And just hit us up on the website if you are interested in any of our services. That's my pitch.
I walked past the Actors Studio to get here.
I'm next to the Actors Studio.
That's pretty cool. But tell me about one thing that I love about Adam is his obsession with gear and lighting, and I feel like it started as a hobby that became a profession.
It started with me wanting to not have to pay for headshots anymore.
Sure.
So I got a camera, and what I didn't know then is you have to learn how to take a photograph, and then you can't just hand the camera off to somebody else and have them take the photograph. So it just became this obsession to keep getting good at it, and then I did get good, and I'm always trying to get good. And gear is they're tools, right? And so if you have a real specific idea and you have the creativity of what it is that you want to photograph and how you want to photograph it, especially in a studio setting, sometimes you need the tools to do it. And so I think I've wasted a lot of money trying to figure stuff out, but it's given me the life I have now. And so
it probably won't be a waste, I think.
No, it's things are I've learned a lot. I feel like I could, yeah, there's some things in life that I can now do because I taught myself this.
If you're looking for an exciting professional self-tape / headshot, working with Adam is exciting. It's just exciting to hear him speak out loud his thoughts as he sets up.
Because I care. That's the thing. I really do care. I care that I want you the world to see your headshot and want to get you in the room. So.
And he does the same thing with his headshots that we're talking about with acting. He makes it his goal to find that piece of you for that shot that's going to book that certain type of role. It's very smart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lucas. And thank you for being here, coming out and being on our first Actors Talk. I don't know what the name's going to be of this, but maybe it's Actors Talk.
Actors jerk off together.
Actors circle jerk. That could be
something like that.
Yeah, we'll just do something totally inappropriate and we'll get ourselves banned from YouTube on our first video.
There's one thing I want to say without I don't want to leave without saying, which is I am getting into coaching because I love it. Primarily an actor, and the thing that's important to me is that I'm always a student, and I think it's important. Oh, how about it?
That's the landline.
There's a lot of acting classes that you can get sucked into where the acting coach will have a very big ego, and you'll feel like you are not allowed to leave the class. You'll feel like you owe them something, even though you're paying them money. At the worst end of it, it'll feel a little culty. And so I think I don't know, just find your center, find somebody who has good boundaries and that you feel good. You should feel good every time you leave acting class. You should feel like I had fun. I think that's my thing.
Yeah, I don't think that it should be tedious and hurtful. I think that a coach should be building you up. Confidence is everything.
100%.
Confidence is everything. So if the coach is bringing you down, I don't care if their excuse is, I got to break you down to build you up. That
thing is so harmful.
Yeah,
nobody has to break you down.
No,
this BS.
It's because if you're interested in this and you're willing to work hard at it, you will get better.
Yeah.
And so it's better to just build on what you've got and what you bring to the art form in terms of your imagination, in terms of your emotional availability, in terms of your work ethic, and your love of text and your love of storytelling. I don't think you need to be broken down, and I think then that's sort of the
I've been through that. It sounds like you have too.
The classical training is like they're everything that you like about your acting, they're gonna cut that. It's nope, that's not right. Don't do that. And so that did have an impact on me. I mean, I left the business for 7 years. Yeah. Because I was just so disenchanted with acting when I got out of conservatory. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming, dude. Thanks, man. So shaking hands. We can see you. You have a new recurring role on ABC's Emergence. Oh yeah, it just already aired at the beginning of 2020. Yeah. And have you done all your episodes aired now? Of that show, yeah. Of that show. Yep. All right, so got something else coming up that I can't say. So, but yeah, I know something about it, but I can't say either. Yep. No. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and either I or Lucas will answer them, and we'll let you know when we have our next guest. Awesome. Thanks for having me.